Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not to Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of Swamp Thing, as well as the season finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like always, if I'm talking about something that you want to listen to, you can always look in the description down below. I'll include a time when I start talking about each of the respective shows. So, for example, if you want to hear what I had to say about the season finale of Swamp Thing, you can skip to what I had to say about the season finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is the season finale of Swamp Thing. A great season finale, a lot to kind of discuss about the season finale. Obviously, picking up where the last episode left us, obviously with the realization of like, I'm not Alec Holland, the real Alec Holland is dead, and even Abby saying she's sorry to him because it's like, the fact of the matter is, I know how much you want to be human again, but for him, it's like, I'm not. Like, there's no part of like, to turn me back into Alec Holland because the real Alec Holland is gone. I'm just a blurred copy of his consciousness, but Abby's like, that's not who you are. All that you've done, you've saved me, you saved Susie, that was you. It's not just memories of being Alec Holland, like basically at your heart, just like the stranger says, like you kind of have to hold on to who you are. If you still feel like Alec Holland, you got to hold on to that. You've shown yourself to still be Alec. You're not just this thing. But for him, he doesn't really believe that. So he pulls Alec's body back into the swamp. I guess obviously doesn't want to see it, and it's a reminder. So it's probably I guess to give Alec Holland a proper burial. I guess you could look at it as giving himself a proper burial because like I guess I'm dead. Alec Holland is dead. I'm just a copy. Let him rest and just bury it deep because that's. I guess that's how you can look at it. It's kind of interesting when you break it down like that. That it is him just burying any hopes of himself ever becoming human again. So he's in the woods defending himself from Ellery and his people, which, interesting enough, lo and behold, who's one of those people? Shaw, who is played by Jake Busey. If you didn't know, Jake Busey recently just popped up in Stranger Things. I'm like, yo, Jake! I don't know why, I just get giddy like that. I'm like, holy crap, I just saw you in Stranger Things, now you're in the season finale of Swamp Thing. That's cool. Which is also interesting till we actually break that down. I didn't even think about that till now. ST Stranger Things, ST Swamp Thing. I know I'm reading too much into it, but I just thought that was kind of interesting. But I love that Avery, like this is kind of like Avery has officially fallen apart episode because basically nothing went his way. He's trying to make dealings with Ellery, but Ellery's like, I ain't stupid. I know exactly what happened to you. Oh, you went into the swamp with your girlfriend Cop and kind of didn't come out. She kind of came out by herself. It's like, oh yeah, we've had our eyes on you for a while, but we're kind of like, all right, we'll let him do whatever he wants to. But then like everything he did last time with the whole capturing Alec thing led to a lot of people, if his people getting killed. So it's like, no, we're not doing that. So you have them going into woods because it's like, oh, if we're going to put him down, we'll get whatever we need out of it. Avery's like, no, but I'm still be a part of this, right? It's like, no, get your mess back, get your house in order, then maybe we'll talk. And sadly, it doesn't seem like it's going to work out anyway because in the swamp you have Swamp Thing setting his own trial, which is interesting too because like it seems like obviously the more rage she gets, like the more like he gets these little spikes on his side. I guess like when the time comes, I guess it's supposed to show in like the advancement of like eventually he can armor up his body a lot more. I mean, because we know he can modify himself. At least I only know this because of Injustice 2, but I know he can grow wings. So obviously he can modify his body and obviously he can shapeshift his arms into weapons and stuff like that, but still like he can probably like overextend it and kind of make his body full-blown armor is kind of what I'm thinking about, and that's kind of what that's representing. Poor Shaw, Jay Busey, he got it hard, dude. It's like, oh, we're gonna kill him. Root comes through, stabs him in the mouth, and then like rips his jaw off. I'm like, yeah. It's still, the level of violence in this still kind of catches me off guard. I don't know why. It's still just something I'm not used to. So it just kind of, I'm like, whoa. Slamming one dude against a tree, and then a root comes and stabs him through the neck. It's like, yeah, no mercy. Except for Ellery. He's letting Ellery go to be like, no. Run and tell everyone you work with that leave me alone and never come back to this place again. Tell them what you saw, because obviously he has people treating him like a thing, and it's like, you want me to act like a thing? I'll be this vicious monster that you're scared of, so run. Obviously Ellery seemed like he was at the top of this, but this conclave, I guess he's just kind of middle management, or maybe he's kind of a grunt or middle management, whatever the case may be. It doesn't seem like he's at the top. Kind of would have assumed Ellery was, but turns out potentially not the case. We still don't know who his higher ups are, but who I guess they're like some government funded thing, like some secret government funded like offshoot. Maybe they handle the more like crazy aspects of the DC universe, essentially, of just like, oh, this kind of weird craziness that happens in this world, we kind of look into it type of thing. It's that thing of like what Alec could do. It's like, oh, you could do so much good, but the fact of the matter is you know, if you ask for my help, that's one thing, but the fact of the matter is that you want to use me like that, cut me open, show me my own heart. It's like, you show me to be a monster, then that's what I'm going to be towards you. So what I really thought was kind of pretty neat, though, was also like Alec being there, being like, hey, so this is all you're going to be. And he's like, you're dead. You're not even here. He's like, yeah, physically I am dead, but I am still up here. The fact of the matter is, it's like Swamp Thing's just kind of giving up. It's like, I can't be human again. He's like, I get it. That's all you've ever wanted. And now it's a situation of like, everyone sees us as a monster. I get it. But the fact of the matter is, there's one person who doesn't. Abby. If we push her away, we're pushing away the only human connection we have. And if we do that, we might as well just be considered a thing that everyone thinks we are. I know you were so hopeful to be Alec Holland again, but it's like, that's not who we are. Alec Holland is dead. But the fact of the matter is, now you have to decide, who do you want to be? You know? So I'm curious, is that supposed to be like a send-off to be like, that is the last we'll ever see of Alec? Because I feel like Alec's always going to be there, part of him, part of who he is. So I think that's not necessarily the end, but I think it was kind of a neat little meeting of the minds of like, the creature that he is meeting with the man that he is at the same time. I just thought that was kind of a beautiful unity in that regard. Like I said, Avery's falling apart in this episode. He's going to Delroy's. He's getting drunk. He's like, oh, the fact of the matter is, this town knows I've always been there for them, and they're going to be there for me when the time comes. But it's like, no. Because let's not forget, you were fairly recently threatening Delroy. So he's like, oh, I can't say I'm surprised that you literally have no friends. And he's saying, like, I'll get back on top. But like I said, we've seen him fall super hard. Even to the point, you know, after finding out about Matt, he goes to see Lucilia. Matt, I love Lucilia pulls out the gun like, are you crazy? You showing up here? You actually crawl back out of the swamp. But I love him being like, oh, don't worry. Now that Maria's gone, oh, we can be together, you and me and Matt. We can have a fresh start. And it's almost like, oh, she gives that look like she's listening. And she's like, are you stupid? No, you stabbed our son. You turned him into a murderer, and you think I was going to be okay with that? It's like, no, you're going to rot in hell. Hell, if you're lucky, I'm going to be the one that puts you there. And it's like, yes. I thought that was kind of neat. It's like, don't ever come around us again. She goes by Matt. And, Matt, is kind of reeling with everything. He's actually kind of glad Avery's alive because, like, that would mean there's, like, at least one less person he doesn't have to have on his conscience. Like, oh, I killed him. And it makes it even harder because it's your own dad. But still, it makes you, well, I'll get to it soon enough, but Lucilia's being like, no, it's my fault. I kept you away from the truth of Avery being your dad. I should have trusted you to be the man I know that you are, that you're a good person. Like, I should have just trusted that, but I didn't, And I was like, I had a feeling, I was like, please don't tell me he's going to do what I think he is, like Avery. And I'm like, the way they focus on her leaving, I'm like, she's telling Matt she loves him and everything. I was like, please don't. And lo and behold, what does he do? I was like, I'm waiting for him. I was like, where's he going to come at? Is he going to hire someone to do it? No, he did it himself. He stabs and kills Lucilia. I guess, like, he doesn't have the capital anymore to make that happen. He doesn't have the money, Well, maybe he might get Lucille, I'm about to say Maria's money, whatever the case may be. I was like, oh, that sucks. It's like one of us has to die. It's like, ain't no winning your son back over. I guess in his twisted way. I guess because she's always going to be coming after him. He probably thought like, oh, I could smooth things over. It'd be no issue. But it's like, no. See, you've literally destroyed the two women in your life for your own personal gain. It's like you're so evil and twisted that they, became evil and twisted to kind of destroy you. And that's kind of, I guess, that's the whole thing of vengeance. Like, an eye for an eye type of thing of like, when you deal that with that, I think that darkness that, someone else possesses kind of splatters on you to a certain extent. But sadly, it doesn't stop there because he locks her in the trunk of her car and then drives it into the swamp. And it's like, oh, jeez. And she's still alive. She's bleeding. Part of me was hoping that Alec would get to her in time, but it seems like that's not the case. So is she done? I would assume so, which is like more buried secrets in the swamp. It's probably not going to be too much later on. It's like, oh, Lucilia's dead. It's probably going to be a situation where I would assume with everything that kind of goes down, like maybe another sheriff comes to town to kind of take her place, whatever the case may be. I don't know. So there's that, just showing you just the cold-heartedness that is Avery. Abby turns, she tells Liz everything about what's going down, about Alec, and she wants to do whatever she can to help. Go turn to the one person she knows she can go to. She needs to go to Maria about all of this, but Maria's kind of going crazy. And Xanadu is like the darkness you stepped into, you opened the doorway to when you were trying to see Shauna again. That darkness is there and it's never going to let you go. But it's like, I can't help. I can lock you away and give you peace again. Now, part of me wonders, like, the Shauna we see, is that the same evil spirit of Shauna's that was there? Is that kind of to keep her company? Or is it just kind of like Shauna's spirit was kind of freed after that incident and now she's there? I don't know. It's hard to say. That could just be the darkness manifesting, because it seems like Xanadu was like, oh, I'm going to just basically lock you in this happy moment. Like, there's no coming back from this. Like, you're going to be driven insane by this darkness and madness. So either you can be trapped in this happy moment of having Shauna, but it's almost this creepy thing of like forever and ever. Part of me thinks like that is the darkness manifesting itself as Shauna, like the spirit that came to her before, or maybe it was Xanadu bringing her daughter's spirit there to kind of be with her forever. I don't know, but I think we'll see just like Maria not come back from this. I was actually surprised by that, to see like, it's not just like, oh, because she's locked up in the psychiatric ward. It's because just the darkness has corrupted her. Darkness has touched everyone in this town. You have Liz going to visit Daniel, which Daniel was like, yeah, the fact is he couldn't wait to leave this town, but now he can go back to his original life, but now he feels like, no, I've got a bigger purpose out there. So he's leaving the shop to Liz, which I'm curious like what that might potentially could be in, some form or future. Like I said, a lot of that we'll kind of talk about later. But him leaving town, he's driving, he's like, okay, come on, and he's able to kind of leave town without bursting in flames because he did what he needed to do. But I think obviously his destiny has been set in motion as the Blue Devil, and I think even him being like, yeah, I think there's a greater destiny out there for me, and I think it's waiting for him, because now he played the role he did in Murray, because he even says like, yeah, Abby's got there is something special about her. She's got a destiny ahead of her. Like, what's so special about her? What her destiny is, he doesn't know, but he figures keeping her and Liz alive was part of his destiny to kind of help their destiny. So we'll see on that front later on. Then there's Jason. Basically, Caroline's in something called locked-in syndrome. Basically, her motor functions have been shut down, but she's still cognitive from overdosing on her medicine like that. And now he's deciding to feed her Swamp Thing's heart. But it's like, no, of course I'm not going to give it to you first. I'm going to give it to me so I can, I'm going to test it on me. Of course I'd never test it on you, my love. And it's like, it looks a little twisted when you look at it because he's got her taped and everything, but it's like, oh, the fact of the matter is, I'll save you. Abby shows up to try and stop him, but it's because he's like, oh, Alec, that's not Alec, it's a thing. But it's like, no, Alec is there. Don't stop treating him like a thing. And he's trying to feed Caroline the heart, but Abby stops him. But luckily the cops get there in time to tase him and stuff like that. And I think that was Abby's way to kind of get in retribution for what he did to Alec, cutting him open like that. And I think there's even a part of Caroline that almost looked relieved, like she didn't want to, because she saw what was happening, what this whole thing did to her husband. He was spiraling, he was losing control. It's that whole thing. Once again, it's always a beautiful statement. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, and obviously Jason had the best of intentions. He just went about it kind of a shitty way. I mean, to be fair, he's a scientist who doesn't get caught up in semantics and stuff like that. He kind of leads more with his mind rather than his heart, which you could make the argument, well, isn't he leading with his heart with the whole Caroline situation? Yes, but his brilliance is kind of taking that human element out of it towards everyone else, so Abby even makes a point not to say anything about it to Liz about what he was doing, just that he lost his mind. I guess it's because she doesn't, because obviously it's the thing of like, if more people find out about Alec's condition and what it can do for people, then it's just going to bring more and more trouble their way. So it's like, no, I'm not going to say anything about it. So hopefully Caroline can get some help, but obviously her condition is going to potentially get worse after everything. So there's that. You do have Abby searching for Alec, and she almost kind of gives up hope, but he's like, why did you come back? And she's like, I came back for you. The fact of the matter is, like, because I care about you, because not just because of who you are, but even who you are right now. And that's the person I want to stick by, you know? And even so, I'm thinking it's like I was going to leave, go back into the swamp and disappear, but you, I want to stay back because of you, for you. And, you know, the darkness, the rot is spreading. It's not giving up. The darkness is fighting its way to get out. And it's like, I'm not going to, you know, I'm going to stay here to kind of face it when the time comes. And Abby's like, I'm going to be here to face it for you. And I think obviously this plays into that great destiny that the stranger had set up to be like, oh yeah, like the reason why Daniel was here to keep Abby alive, because her destiny and, you know, Alex Swamp Thing's destinies are intertwined about fighting back this darkness. Now the darkness itself begs the question, because you have that moment where like you have after on his way to killing Lucilia, basically pretty much has done it, just kind of sealed the final nail in the coffin. You have Avery being in the car and he starts coughing up. Someone's like, oh, something like black and nasty is going to come up, but it was something green. And I was like, oh, I'm assuming, I could be wrong, but I'm assuming I was right before that. The rot obviously did get to him, like when he was in the swamp. It probably like a little bit of it stuck out inside of him, and now it's a thing of like he's like, what the hell? Not unless that's supposed to be something else, but I assume that's supposed to be like, I don't know. It's actually kind of sad in the grand scheme of things of how that all plays out, because it's like Lucilia made a mistake. She did a lot of wrong, but she was trying to make up for it in the end. It's like she was even saying like her and Maddie were going to be able to move past this, which the ending kind of says, okay, that's not the case. At the end, I was like, okay, we see the green there and everything. I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, we see that dead officer. I'm like, okay, is it going to be a situation? Was it Avery that transformed and lost himself? Was it or was it, like, I was like, was it Lucilia who had come back? I'd completely forgotten about Jason at that point. I was like, right. Of course, last time we saw Jason, he was being arrested. And we see him full on. It's like, I don't get why Alec would want to ever be human again. And it's like, oh, Jason is fully transformed. And we see him attack Matt. We see Matt scream and kind of get off some gunshots. So the question then becomes, well, is Matt dead? Because it's a sad, poetic tragedy to their situation that, you know, it's almost like coming full circle. It's like, well, that's kind of what happens because you killed Alec and Lucilia, like you and your mom. I don't, you feel bad because obviously he's someone that, you know, Abby cares about. So it's sad potential. I don't know, maybe like he didn't die. Maybe he just, because you'd want him to be around to kind of get revenge against his dad after potentially finding out, wait, mom's dead? Wait, you killed her. So quite the full season finale. So obviously with this whole situation, we still have to talk about the whole cancellation thing. Looking into it, it still seems that, yes, Swamp Thing is still canceled, and it doesn't seem like that's necessarily changing, even with things kind of playing out the way they have. Like, obviously, like I said, there were other extenuating circumstances that led to this show being canceled. The question then becomes, will the show come back? It seems unlikely, but I'm always hopeful. A lot of people are very hopeful because from one of the articles I was reading, there's always a possibility that this could get like a Constantine type of treatment where it's like Constantine got canceled, yes, but the character has obviously popped up in the continuity of the Arrowverse and actually has become a member of the Legends on Legends of Tomorrow. So there's always a possibility for that, which is always going to be interesting considering the fact is like the tone of Swamp Thing compared to everything else on the DC. Like, Arrowverse stuff obviously is more TV-14. This is like a hard MA, so I don't know how they would do about that. I wouldn't want just a character to come back. I would want the entire show to come back. Something that should also be considered too, maybe this will have an impact, maybe not. Let's not forget HBO Max. It's a thing. It's going to be like HBO's, like, you know, their answer to Disney Plus and Netflix and Hulu and like its own new streaming service, which is going to include a lot of stuff. The CW, DC Universe, HBO, like TNT, like a lot of stuff is going to be packaged in that. So we know that Doom Patrol is coming back for a second season and it's being, some of the funding is coming from like HBO Max, you know? So there's still a possibility with enough support, maybe, you know, Warner Brothers, HBO, like could push for potentially a season 2 to happen on that platform. Still revive it on DC Universe, because that's probably all going to get merged into one app. Is kind of like the thought process. So I hope that is the case. This is a really good show, and I would love to see it continue down this path to understand like where it could potentially take us in the future. But for now, like I said, it seems unlikely that it's coming back. But like I said, I'm always got my fingers crossed, hopeful that that changes in the future, because this is a really good show, and I'd love to see what they do with a season 2. But, kind of like always with these type of situations, until, potentially it comes, if it ever does come back, till then, I wish everyone involved in this project, the best of luck in their future endeavors, that hopefully maybe one day could swing them back to this particular endeavor and project. Once again, just being very optimistic and hopeful. And now moving on to the season finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Holy crap. A great season finale. There is a lot to break down about both of these episodes, so let's jump into it. The whole plan is to use, Sarge to go after, S.H.I.E.L.D. Obviously, he's locked and loaded with his sword. They've taken his daggers, they've melted them down and turned them into bullets and everything. But it's like, oh, how do we fight S.H.I.E.L.D.? Well, they made gadgets to make it so, they've worked on something they can make it so it's like, hey, S.H.I.E.L.D. can't possess you, but they've only got one. But lo and behold, who shows up? Freaking Deke with a whole bunch of them. And it's like, wait, how'd you do this? He's like, oh, I could have added like a gold design to him or whatever. And I love it. And it's just kind of like, look, you see like Fitz being so proud of him. It's like, oh my God, look at you. You're like a wizard. And in this moment, like him and Fitz and look at each other and they shrug it the same way. It's like, dude. And so it's like everyone's kind of locked and loaded for this plan of, attack. You have May being like, if given the opportunity, she plans to kind of exercise a creature inside of him, inside of Sarge, to hopefully get some piece of Coulson out of all of this. But Daisy's like, it might just straight up kill him, but she's like, maybe, but if she gets the opportunity to go get Coulson back, of course she's going to take it. What I do love is that there is a bit of Coulson in there though, because like when they're fighting off all the strike and everything, and he ends up, like one of the strike ends up being alive, he ends up shooting it, bang, 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 and he's like, do you think that was too much? I feel like that was overkill. And it's like, even I'm like, you see like May and Daisy look at each other. It's like, yeah, that was a Coulson response. And even May was like, yeah, you see that glimmer in his eye? That was kind of like Coulson. And then you have Daisy being like, or maybe Sarge just learned how to finally tell a joke. Then you had the whole situation of Flint popping up, being like, yo, what's going on, guys? This is crazy. Wait, am I in the present day? What's going on? Like, that's a whole lengthy conversation. Even him being like, wait, does that mean I'm not even real? Like, that was a very existential question. It's like, dude, we do not have time to go down that existential route about whether or not you were real or not. That's a whole complicated thing in itself. S.H.I.E.L.D. ends up possessing his body, sadly, because she figures like, oh, like you have that power, so obviously you must be how I'm going to remake the monoliths, and she proceeds to make all 3 of them. You have the Shrike running around like full-blown zombies, more so. And what's interesting too is they seem like at first like they might just be mindless zombies, but later on things happen, so it's like, oh no, they're not just mindless zombies. They actually have minds of their own. They're actually kind of smart. They know how to strike. They even get weapons at points. It's like, that's some super advanced zombies. Those are some borderline Romero cross zombies. Nevertheless, I love while all this is happening, it's like, oh man, they got to find a way to kind of get, people there. And it's like, you have Deke being like, all right, promise me you're not going to be mad. And he takes them, basically everyone from his company, he actually brought them to the lighthouse, and he secretly, moved in, and he's got them working on projects and stuff like that. One of them being the shawl drive, the jump drive. And obviously, I love Fitz getting so pissed. He's like, wait, what? This is stolen technology. It's like, I even love Deke being like, okay, these people are going to say that they're my grandparents. Just kind of roll with it. That's just how they're going to be labeled as. And then it's like, Fitz is going around, literally, he's like, everything in his lab is stolen. And it's like, Deke is trying to be like, no, the fact of the matter is, I didn't steal math. I can't possibly steal math. It's like, I took these ideas, sure, but I'm building upon them, and I'm doing a lot of good with it. It's like, what about the framework? He's like, no, it's not like, it was. It's kind of for like video game purposes and stuff like that. Side note, let's not forget about one of the other reasons why you use the framework. But obviously they're trying to work together, and I love it, that cute moment where like Fitz and Deke are actually pissed at each other, and they kind of turn away from each other and they cross their arms. Fitz looks back and he's kind of shocked because he sees exactly that Deke's doing the same thing, and Deke looks and sees him doing it too. He just throws his hands up. It's like they are too much alike. I love it. Their mannerisms and everything. But when they're piecing it together, obviously like you have Fitz just kind of having enough. It's like, oh, you doing this, oh, you do this, blah, 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 blah. You're not that smart or whatever, kind of like downplaying him, being like, the fact of the matter is, all you do is steal these ideas and stuff like that. All you did was make this company, not trying to, because you're trying to do good, you just want to make money. And then you have Deke drop like a big bomb, being like, I did it because no one likes me. And it's like, oh, he starts going from the heart, basically being like, the fact of the matter is, all his friends are gone because the timeline he's from no longer exists. The fact of the matter is, the girl he gave lemons to doesn't realize, she just looks at him as like a loser. And even when he's done all this other stuff, it still hasn't amounted to anything because she still acts like he's done nothing. He found out, his grandparents don't like him. His girlfriend turns out to be a complete psycho. It's like, Snowflake, was never good for you. He's like, no, I'm not talking about Snowflake. I'm talking about his previous girlfriend. And it's like, oh, and he also found out his best friend was a spy. So it's just, and the sad thing is, like, Deke kind of pouring his heart out, being like, everything he's done has been for the purpose of, trying to be what people want him to be. He wants to feel like he belongs, but like I said, even his grandparents act like he's a screw up, he's a failure. So he puts on the jump drive and he uses it himself. So that was pretty impressive, very ballsy of him. But you shouldn't count Deke out. I do like when Deke does show up there and he's giving like the bracelets to everyone. Even Flint like, yo, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? What's happening? And I even love it when Yo-Yo gets hers and then I.Z.L. tries to possess her body but can't. You see that look on Yo-Yo's face when she pushes her, like, yeah, that's gotta feel so good to finally be able to lay hands on her. But I always love that little line of being like, oh, what about you? He's like, nah, I'm not really good at wearing, wearable technology. It's like, right. Once again, the timeline you came from, wearable technology wasn't the greatest thing. So it's like, of course, you're always going to have some aversion to it. But I love him being a hero and trying to use it. He's like, yeah, I got to worry about, I got the jump drive. He tries to use it and it literally takes him like a foot or two. And it's like, wait, what? You got to let it charge. It's like, why didn't you let me know? And Fitz is just like, oh, you didn't give us time to. I even love it while he's running for his life. He's like, you know what? This could be a great idea for a video game. You get hunted by zombies, fast, slow. You can use knives and chainsaws. Like, no one's ever done that before. And Simmons is like, right, yeah, of course. That's a great idea. And you have Fitz in the background throwing his hands up in the air like, what? I just love it. That family is all kinds of amazing. I love it. There's also this moment between Sarge and May that I thought was pretty neat, because Sarge is like, I don't know, when I go in there, it's like, once again, that anger, it'll take control. He doesn't believe, like, when it's all said and done, he'll be able to pull himself back, but May does. And he's like, why? It's like, okay, you must have some idea that when this is all said and done, you can get Coulson back. It's like, I'm not going to be the love of your life. Like, whatever made me, it's going to be gone, and what's going to be left isn't going to be your love. And she's like, I know. I've come to terms with the fact is that Phil Coulson is gone forever, but the fact of the matter is, there's still some good in you, and I believe it. So they go to fight Z.H.I.E.L.D, but when the time comes, he can't pull the trigger. And because it's the thing inside of him that won't let him, all, the monoliths are activated, the gates are open, and you got those three on the other side putting their medallions in, or talismans in, to get the other side open. So that's a whole thing. Then, you have May reaching out, being like, come on, that pain you're feeling, that's love. Remember, like, you taught me that, basically, like, you pulled me from a cubicle. You've made me a part of this team. Remember me, Mac, Daisy, Yo-Yo, Fitz, and Simmons. that you love us and we love you. And he's like, right. And I was like, okay, come on. And then he stabbed her and I'm like, wait, what? I was like, and the entire time I was like, okay, tell me that this is part of some plan of yours, Sarge, that this is actually Coulson in control, but there's some plan to it. But it's like, no, that creature inside of him completely had taken over. It's like, damn it. And it's sad too because like Mac and Daisy had gotten into an argument about this because Mac was like, the devil comes wearing a face that you know all too well. But Daisy's like, you don't know what happened. The fact of the matter is there is some Coulson in there, because it's like, wait, Piper left with Flint, but it's not even a real Flint and we're worried about him. It's like, yeah, don't say that. Like, what makes him real? The fact of the matter is like, Yo-Yo and Mac are looking after him. And that's a big question itself, because I always think that's kind of interesting. You made the argument of, well, if he's real or not. It's like, well, what about, Sarge? Sarge technically isn't real. He's a copy of Coulson's body with a creature possessing it. So it's not, it's a whole thing in itself. But, so it just comes to the circumstance of like, well, what can you say is real or not? I mean, I think you could make an argument that Deke isn't technically real because he's a paradox, because he's from a timeline that no longer exists. So... it's like semantics when you actually break it down and think of it like that, which that Flint thing I'm going to get back to later on. Hopefully I remember it, but nevertheless. Okay, so May's down, and Daisy feels bad about it because it's like, I made such an argument. I trusted Sarge and it was all for nothing. Like I said, all the while they're dealing with the zombies and stuff. I love that, they're trying to get, the Quinjet? They're trying to get, Deke to fly it and whatnot. You also have Yo-Yo having one of her badass moments of like, oh yeah, like some strike break in, time slows down. She literally goes into bullet time. And even Daisy's like, okay, totally didn't know you could do that. She's like, I don't have to move fast just to slow down time. I'm like, what? I mean, and no lie, she literally just did bullet time, whether you want to take it from like Max Payne or whatever. Like, she literally did that. That's so dope. Because I was like, even I was like, wait, has she ever done that before? She hasn't. That's crazy. I guess it's just like full on, I guess more applications of just how her powers can be used. It's just kind of like, okay, I guess it's like, oh, we're so used to how Yo-Yo do things. It's like, oh, here she goes, kind of throwing a curveball our way. Okay, of course. So there's that type of situation. I also love Piper being the one that kind of have to deal with Flint. Now I'm thinking about it. I was like, all right, of course I'm going to help this kid. This kid basically helped save the world. So, of course, we're going to look after him. So, all the while that's happening, May's on the other side. Apparently that world, life and death kind of don't matter. So that's why May's able to kind of still be up. Because I was like, whoa. That's why I was like, oh, did Sarge do something to her? But it's like, no. She technically was on the verge of dying, but she stopped dying in that world because it doesn't matter in that world. So, and Izel she's on the other side, fighting, May. It's like, yeah, like May being a badass. It's like the last thing you want to do is put a weapon in the hands of one of the most deadliest people in this show, and handling Izel on her own. She doesn't get in the first fight, she doesn't get to kind of put her down, but it's like, oh, dude, it's so dope. Ugh. I'm sorry. I'm like I said, there's just so much to kind of go over. One that I think is one of the dopest, like, it just how it looks is when Daisy's like, oh, I'm about to get full-blown revenge. Like, he's in the middle of talking and Daisy quakes him and his skin flies off and you see the creature underneath and you have everyone looking like, holy crap. And it keeps walking forward because even Daisy's pushing, but it's not enough. And that moment, it grabs her hand and then the skin forms back around him. I was like, I loved how cool that looked. That was so freaking dope. But literally everyone's trying to fight. Daisy, kind of gets knocked back. Mac landing in some blows, but kind of doesn't do anything against Sarge. Obviously, there's everything with Yo-Yo. She's got the strike inside of her. She even asked Daisy to kind of put her down when the time came because she knew that Mac wouldn't do it, and it couldn't do it, actually. But Daisy's like, no, it's not going to come down to that, but Yo-Yo's like, but if it does, because there is no cure for it, because even Sarge was like, yeah, there's no getting around the strike. Once they're inside of you, you're essentially dead. So it's like, she's only got a matter of time before she loses herself. Although while this is happening, the Chronicons have infiltrated the lighthouse because their plan isn't just to take over Earth and make it Chronicon 3, which, yes, that's their plan, but their first plan is to wipe out S.H.I.E.L.D. because S.H.I.E.L.D's kind of like, well, I mean, that's kind of the purpose of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's meant to be the last line of defense for Earth. So, and I was like, oh, they know the protocols and stuff like that. Even, was it Deke's best friend? What is his name? Trevor? Poor bastard ended up getting killed because they were because I was wondering like what this all trailed back to, because remember, like, they went inside of the mind space that had, Fitz and Simmons' brains, but I was like, what is the purpose of that? And we find out in this case it's because they know every protocol that is done in the lighthouse. That's how they know. I was like, oh, that's so ingenious from an evil perspective. So Fitz and Simmons decide to go on their own to go after the framework, because the framework, if they use that brain machine again, they could hook it up and basically copy all that information from everyone that's ever been in the framework, including Coulson, who knows all of S.H.I.E.L.D's secrets. So basically everything they could possibly do, every line of defense could be taken out by the Chronicons, which is so interesting because they're so busy doing all this, not realizing that there's an apocalyptic level event about to happen, because there's already another invasion, which I guess they didn't care enough to look into that, because it's just fascinating to me, because I'm like, dude, like, there's literally already another invasion on this Earth about to happen, but I guess it's like you're kind of focused on your thing, so you're not focused on what's going on elsewhere. But nevertheless, and you had that moment of, I love Fitz being like, yeah, we're going to have to, probably destroy all of it, definitely destroy all of the framework to keep it out of their hands. He's like, actually, I'm kind of sad. I'm actually a little sad to kind of have to destroy it all. And then you have Simmons be like, really? And he's like, what? I mean, yeah, I mean, it was a joke, well, he was like the framework, and Radcliffe, he was like super, super drunk or whatever. And you have Simmons looking at him like, yeah, sure. It is kind of sweet, though they were willing to sacrifice themselves. Luckily, they didn't have to, because Enoch pops up. He disguised himself as Isaiah. I thought that was pretty dope. But the thing is, to stop all of this, it's like, it's going to take them having to basically change their destinies forever. And I love Fitz and Simmons look at each other like, of course it is. Of course it's going to be something that kind of splits us apart again or something like that. Just because we can't be happy for a moment. We found each other across space and time, considering the fact is a version of me ended up dying and I'm kind of a paradox. We found each other again, and now it's like, oh, of course something's going to be in the way of our relationship. Then you have the whole situation of, S.H.I.E.L.D. coming through the portal, trying to sneak up on Daisy, and he comes May with a bam, final blow. I'm like, yeah. That's what I was trying to say earlier. Like, I was about to say, it's like, oh, I wish she could have got, but it's like, right. May did get the final blow, and I'm like, it's poetic that she ends up being the one getting the final blow. Like I said, that whole Sarge thing kind of took me by surprise. I was thinking like maybe he'd pull through in the end. Maybe they would be able to separate him. But no, Daisy ends up using her powers and pushing him back long enough for Mac to take the sword and slice him in half. I was like, Phew. Also, because it seems like the moment S.H.I.E.L.D. died, all the Shrike that were possessing people died. I'm curious, what about those who were super far gone? Well, to be fair, Yo-Yo was in the process of being far gone, but I guess as long as they haven't done the whole like expanding and turning into spikes thing, as long as they're not doing that, like kind of exploding like that, then it's okay. Like, I guess anyone else out there that was a zombie got saved in that moment too, so... and May's there dying. Is like, dude, I was like, no, come on, something's going to happen, right? You're going to save her. Like, I was thinking, like, oh, somehow the last bit of power, Coulson's going to be over there. He's going to be back, and he's going to save her. It's like, oh, yeah, that's going to... It's like, no. Because it's like, was there any part of Coulson that was left? And, Daisy has to be like, no, May's like, I wanted to see him. And Daisy's like, I wanted to see him again, too. And she's like... And May's like, I'll see him soon enough. And it's like... I was like, what? I was like, no, because at first I was like, there's no way you're going to... Would you kill off Yo-Yo? And there's no way you're going to kill off May. And I'm like, Yo-Yo stayed, but we lose May. What? I was like, you can't be doing this. And then Simmons shows up, and she's like, no, we can save May, putting her kind of in a cryopod. And it's like, what the hell is going on? She takes a piece... They take like a piece of, I guess, of each of the monoliths. Now that brought up, now kind of circling back to the Flint thing, what I was curious about. Well, Flint it's kind of based around the monoliths, right? So I was thinking, like, if they end up getting destroyed, wouldn't he kind of go away? But then there's a part of my brain that was also like, well, what if we end up finding out the situation is actually, as long as there's a piece of the monoliths left, he can still coexist. Could he exist without the monoliths? I thought maybe if he got too far away from the monoliths, it would have been, but I guess it's like, I don't know. I don't know how that works. Like, we left that super unanswered, like what that's all about. But the fact is they were even willing to take pieces of it. It's like, why is that? But then it's like, apparently a lot of stuff has changed. Like, the jet is kind of majorly advanced and stuff. It's like, wait, it's autopiloted. Simmons isn't acting like herself. Part of me is wondering, is like, is this supposed to be Simmons? Has she studied a whole bunch of stuff in between the last time we saw her? Or has she become part Chronicon or something like that? I don't think so. I think it's just she's well-versed in a lot of, well, because it seems like, you know, kind of skipping around, we're going full-blown time travel type of situation, you know, again, to probably like a different future, because obviously, like, things on Earth didn't play out the same way. But it's like, also, she's like, I can't know where Fitz is. It's like, I guess because... I don't know why. I guess it must be a thing of, like, to preserve some time thing, they have to be separated. Because I guess it's because maybe this Fitz is a paradox. Because whatever the case may be, it shows that Deke is still alive. But once again, he's a paradox. So that's a whole complicated thing in itself. Because it's like, well, because that must mean at some point they must get together and still end up having their daughter, who eventually... They ended up having a daughter, right? Yes, they had a daughter who ended up eventually having Deke. So it becomes a question of, like, but Deke's a child of theirs from a different timeline. And so it's like, once again, like I said, the paradox of the whole situation. So I don't know. I feel like there's probably other extenuating circumstances why they can't be around each other anymore. Maybe, like, if they're together, it means that they won't be focused on what they need to. I don't know, because like I said, Simmons is like, I can't know where he is. Like, maybe it's a compartmentalizing thing of, like, oh right, I forgot. I'm so well. Will that work the same way? Because I'm about to say I'm so stupid. Because the fact is, they're inside of Fitz and Simmons' heads. The Chronicons have access to that, so it's like they have to be separated. Because as long as they're not together, as long as she doesn't know what Fitz is doing, what he's up to, that information can't be. Because I guess maybe it's something that the Chronicons could still potentially tap into and use against them. Or maybe that doesn't apply in this particular case. I feel like, because I was about to feel like I had a smart moment, because like, oh, maybe that's the reason why, but it's like, no. But I don't know. Then we get the reveal of, like, oh, we're bringing Coulson back. Because it's like, yes, normally I would ask May about this situation, but she's currently knocked out, which I'm sure May would all be about. And as I would ask the team, but this isn't their decision, this is his. Coulson literally made this statement before, and that's what Simmons was saying, that he did not want to come back in any shape or form, because he got a second chance, and he was like, I don't deserve, like, asking for any more would be greedy, you know? So that's why he accepted his death. But now, like, he's back as an LMD who's also been given, you know, Chronicon, like, enhancements, as well as he has memories of everything that he's missed in between season 5, well, his death and everything here in season 6. And, like, you have Mac being like, oh, maybe we should think about the repercussions of, and Daisy was like, nope, bam, hits the button, and Coulson wakes up and he's like, hey, guys. I'm like, what you guys? Okay. I was so curious how they were going to handle the Coulson situation. Like I said, I was legitimately like, oh, I guess we're not getting Coulson anymore. And I was like, what? That's kind of crazy to think about because of the way the whole Sarge thing kind of played out. Also, another question is, what the hell happened to Snowflake? We haven't seen her for like the past, 2 episodes? She wasn't in these episodes or the episode before last or whatever the case may be. So it's like, huh. Which is also sad, the whole Sarge situation, because it's like, I guess it kind of worked out in the end, but it turned out all those people who sacrificed Pax, Jocko, all the people we didn't get to really know, as well as Snowflake, fought for this guy to stop this monster when in fact he was kind of one of them and everything. So there's that. There's also the situation of just kind of like, you were kind of hoping that Sarge could win. It's that whole nature versus nurture thing of like, oh, the nurture that is, all that is his memories of Phil Coulson, you think that would have been enough to quell the beast. But once again, he has his memories, but he doesn't have Coulson's heart. His heart's combined with those memories made Coulson who he was. So it's like, he was just a pale imitation is kind of how you could potentially break that down. So, but then, like I said, we see them in the future, which eventually is like Earth, in particular New York in the future. And it's like, oh, this is like the Empire State Building, and it's like the tallest building in the world potentially. It's like, okay, so that's why I'm kind of getting the feeling like, because Simmons is like, we have all the time in the world. I think they already did some time traveling, went to the future, did some stuff, gathered some knowledge. That's why the Quinjet or whatever is already already technologically advanced to the point it can, fly itself and everything. So they're in the far future. How far in the future, we don't know. Which I guess is also further proof of how far we're steering away from the MCU timeline. Once again, it's always that complicated thing of just because this was the first season to heavily distance itself to kind of do its own thing from the current MCU movie timeline. Obviously, now with everything that's kind of going down, it's the MCU TV shows are no longer, these in particular, this, everything on Netflix, Runaways, I'd assume the soon Ghost Rider TV show, Cloak and Dagger, all technically don't count as canon in his universe to a certain extent. I'm always going to leave them as canon. That is just kind of there's some technicalities with the canon. I'm always, I'm just going to leave it as it is, but I get it. It's a whole thing. But there's so much left unanswered with all of this. Obviously, hopefully we'll get some answers immediately as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is returning for a 7th and final season. I have no idea what to expect from all of this. Obviously, they got to deal with another species coming to terraform the planet yet again. Literally just had to finish dealing with the creatures S.H.I.E.L.D. and Sarge were to kind of deal with that. But we're going to probably be dealing with a lot more time traveling. Is it all going to take place 100% in the future? Is it going to be some stuff in present day? Because from what I was hearing, I believe the final season is going to be 13 episodes as well. So I don't know what to expect, really. All I know is we got our boy Coulson back, and that's definitely going to be interesting to see the interactions and stuff like that. Because we know the lighthouse is going, but I'm wondering, is everyone that was in the lighthouse, were they saved? Like I said, what about Piper? What about Flint? Are they here in the future as well? That might be an interesting element of here's Flint, who's not technically real, but now he's kind of real. Once again, hopefully, like I said, I think it's because pieces of the monolith are still around, because they made sure to take some, because I guess because the time they're from, they know that the monoliths get destroyed, or maybe that was them attacking. I assumed that was someone else attacking, but I guess that was them destroying the monoliths, but they took pieces. Maybe that was for the purpose of keeping Flint around, maybe not. I don't know. It's kind of interesting too, because we are going full-blown using the device to time travel and not the monolith. So that in itself, which makes me think, because they have the device, they can kind of choose when and when not to time travel. Dude, this next season is going to be nuts with everything that's set up. I hope that means we also get to keep LMD Coulson around. That's going to be complicated and weird. Probably when it's all said and done, we're probably going to get Coulson killed at the end, just because this is Coulson in the end anyway. Because even Gemma was at the very least, he'll understand the circumstances we were in. But I think when it's all said and done, he'll let himself die, because it's the real Coulson is gone. Yes, I have his memories and everything, his feelings, his heart and stuff like that. But I think this is what the real Coulson would want, to get a proper goodbye with everyone. Maybe that's what we'll see. Maybe we don't. Like I said, I have no idea what we're going to get up to in the final season, but I'm so excited to find out. But really, that's all I want to talk about. To the next sorry about that. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.